Good afternoon. We have an activity-filled webinar for you today. So I want to start on time, and I'd like to start by welcoming you to another session of our Pathways to Prosperity, Building Strong Communities for Business Success, and thank our sponsor, Kennebunk Savings. Today, our topic is fostering workplace culture in a remote or hybrid environment. And our speaker and coach is Heather Ramsey, a true believer in leadership at all levels of an organization. Heather has been building core competencies in individuals and teams for over 25 years. Her education and experience include a mix of business, counseling, and education. She is a professional certified coach through the International Coach Federation with a BS in Business Management and a minor in Psychology from Northeastern University and a master's in Mental Health Counseling from Argosy University. Heather has an extensive bio. For the rest of it, we are going to put her contact info and bio in the chat for you to review. We also have two guest speakers, a case study that Heather is sharing with us. So I want to welcome Shanna Deshays and Kate McSherry from Rise Wealth Management, and I will hand it over to Heather.
Excellent. Thank you. Hello, everybody. It is so great to see. Look at these smiling faces. It's great to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Hello. Very excited to be here today. Would love for folks, if you're here and you're able to turn your camera on, that's super helpful because it helps me to connect and be with you as we talk a little bit. Our program today is very interactive, so I just want to set the stage that one, we are going to talk a little bit about the trends. So I'll talk a little bit about trends. Then we're going to send you into some breakout groups. Now, those breakout groups, we're going to let you share some information of what you're already doing out there. We have some amazing companies and organizations that signed up today, and I know you're doing some awesome stuff. So the idea is to cross-pollinate some of that in those breakouts, things that you are doing to increase that culture. And then we have from Rise Private Wealth Management, we have two folks who have been using a tool that we just think is amazing and can really help you. So we're going to do a modeling of that so that you can then take that tool back to your organization and implement it so you can get lots of different perspectives in the room, but it's definitely a culture builder and connector. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off. But again, those of you who are open to, thank you for those of you that have your video on. It's super helpful. I'm going to be bringing up and down the PowerPoint. So we were having some technical issues earlier. If we do continue to have those, you're just going to let me know, and it's going to be fantastic. So, all right. So we're talking about workplace culture in this remote or hybrid environment. I've been working on this with folks for many years, probably at least 10 out of the 18 years that I've been doing executive coaching and leadership development. I've been helping companies with dispersed work cultures and really helping to build that. And as we know, culture it's the feel that people get when they're in the organization. So much harder to do in this remote and hybrid area. The fact that you're here today makes me super happy because that means that you're actually setting intention on that wonderful environment that you're trying and that culture that you're trying to create, because that's at the end of the day what it's all about. You have to have intention around it. So what I'm seeing with the clients that I work with is what I'm going to be presenting today. Those clients range anywhere from folks like Rise Private Wealth Management, but it's also people who are in construction, nonprofits, healthcare, software, and just small and large organizations. So these are some of the things that we're noticing. It's what I'm hearing in the podcast, what my fellow coaches are talking about. Some of this stuff isn't going to be rocket science. I think we did a really great job at a lot of these things prior to and just beginning of COVID, but we've kind of moved away from that. And so it's time to reset that flashlight on some of these areas. So here, hopefully, as I try to advance and my screen is not advancing, this is sadness. Sadness, sadness, sadness. Okay, hold on. We're going to stop sharing for just a second, and then I'm going to see if I can get that little bugger to go. So we've got 5 different trends that we're going to be covering today. And in those 5 trends, we're going to just dig in a little bit to those. But what I would love you to do is to start thinking of what you're already doing in your organization and what you're doing in your organization or what you might do as we go through those trends. And again, these are things that you might have done in the past, but you stopped doing for whatever reason. We want to make sure that those are in there. Okay, so I've got my screen. I'm going to try to go in and share. Sorry for the technical. Gosh, they're never going to let me run the screens again. They're going to be like, Heather, we told you.
I have it on backup, Heather, anytime.
Right. Give me 1 second and let's see. New share. Oh, now it's asking for multiple participants. All right. So, are you seeing new trends?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So these are the 5 new trends. We're going to see if that advances. It may or may not. So these are the 5 trends that we're seeing and that we're talking about. We'll make sure that you have access to this slide deck as well. These are just giving some ideas, but sharing the why, Simon Sinek, got to get back to that. We'll talk a little bit more about that in detail. Having flexibility as much as possible, looking at those values-based approach, right? The purpose-driven. I saw Kenny Bunkport Savings Bank, purpose driven, that's really about those values, not only the values of the company, but the values of the individuals. Helping to check in, doing these pulse checks, super important. And then what we're going to talk about is these real and relevant connects. Those are those authentic connection points and ability to be able to do that. And we're going to model that for you in a little bit here. And so we are going to stop sharing screen. For some reason, I am going to have you, if you wouldn't mind, Zena, bring up yours because it doesn't let me advance mine. So we're going to play together. Part of this is being agile, right? So heading on to that next slide would be great. Perfect. All right. So one of the things that we're getting into nowadays with our culture is we're an action driven, right? This is what we are. We get to work, we come right down to it. And I think what's happening for a lot of our organizations is that they're realizing that their folks are disengaging because they're not connected to the why. So as an organization, one of the key things that we're seeing people do, but also coming back to is like really coming to the passion. What is the passion? Why are we here? Let's tell the stories of the people that we're serving, stories of how we're working together as a team, figuring out what's important to the people that are in our organization and really helping to reinforce that. And we can reinforce that again by storytelling. We can reinforce that by images that we have. A lot of folks are doing a great job still. And I know it seems cheesy, but it works. I've got one construction company that they always have different backgrounds that their marketing group is keeping with them, but it helps to reinforce with the images that people are seeing every day as they're in these online meetings to be able to be like, this is why we're here. This is why we do what we do, or this is who we are, whether that's innovation, whether that is serving people, taking care of others, whether that's having a global view, all those different pieces. But it has to be things that are important to the people that you are working with. And you've got to really figure that out. How you do that is by getting them engaged and asking them what's important to them right now, or bringing them along and having them help share those stories. I know a long time ago, Michelle, you'll remember we talk about mission moments, right? Like what are the mission moments that are in there and how do we help share those in every single meeting or at least in key meetings along the way? Let's go ahead and advance on to flexibility. So we know there's a lot of people are like, hey, we know that you don't have to work from here, but just kidding, we're going to bring you all back. One of the things that's important as you're doing that is you've got to make sure there's people in the office. The biggest complaint that I see from folks from a culture perspective is they're like, yeah, they've told me I have to come in. I come into the office and nobody's here, or we're all here on, these virtual meetings, which makes no sense for me to have to do this commute. So one thing that folks are doing is they're kind of having these anchor days, and they're letting their people pick what those anchor days are, by the way. So the more you can allow people to have choice in here, the more that's going to allow them to want to do that. But those anchor days are, look, we're here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the meeting times that we have are during these times, and we're going to do it in a period that makes it so that the commute isn't so bad. Or considering also you've now got people that are remote and in different time zones. I'm out here in Portland, Oregon. Most of you are in New Hampshire. Look, 3 hours ahead of us. Okay, putting a meeting at 9 a.m., you're not getting your best Heather at that point, right? So set those meeting times and they're really thinking about what those might be and how those might be helpful for folks. The other thing is, like, we're getting down to business. As I said, we come in, we have our work, we have our to-dos, we're very task driven and organization driven, and we don't have that time for the coffee piece. And again, during COVID, I think we did a really great job of like allowing for a little downtime or flexibility within the meetings. I've talked to a lot of people now who are like, look, we don't have any space in our agenda for anything else. And that is anything else from a work perspective, but also anything else from a just knowing what's going on with your fellow coworkers, right? So having a little 6 minutes even time to be able to plug in and connect in is really important. The other piece here, our managers were telling them, you've got to stay connected to your people and, doing that. Let them pick how they're going to do it, but make sure they have a plan. I just got off the phone with a gentleman I'm coaching. He's in construction. He works with a lot of safety folks. He's a mentor and a coach for probably about 15 people. And he's like, those meetings are not happening. Like, I'm working with them on the to-dos on the daily basis. We're connecting, but we are not communicating and we're not connecting on just that personal level. So for him, it's really mapping out, like, how am I going to be doing that over time, making sure that those set times happen, and then I have really good questions to ask my people when I'm meeting with them. So making sure that the managers get to choose, but that they do have a plan for how they're communicating and plugging in. Next one down, one of my favorite things in the world is values. And so a lot of organizations, and Zena's going to help us go to that next slide because she's amazing. Look at those 5 stars. Okay, our values are from a company level, we have the company values, and certainly, we're plugged into those and we like those, but we all as individuals have a beautiful bundle of amazing values. And I think what I see in the managers that are doing a really great job right now, they know what their people's values are. They also are able to notice and name those values as they go along. So they're really spending some time with folks on this, your value of adventure or your value of creativity or collaboration. Maybe it's something that we want to amp up in the next year. And how can I make sure that you have projects that are based on that? That helps really feed a culture of people who are engaged, excited, both from an individual standpoint, but that's going to spread to the other teams when they're in there. So really noticing and naming those values for your people. When we talk about a 5-star rating, if you're looking to really make sure that your people are engaged, you want to have them check in on a 5-star rating. If you had to give yourself a Yelp review on your core 5 values, what would you be giving those as a 5-star? Now, we know you're probably going to be showing up in an awesome way, like, relationships are really important to me. So I'm going to be doing everything I can to do great relationships. So I probably would give myself a 4 or 5-star. But maybe the relationships are strained because I don't have those connections anymore. So my overall rating for that might be a 3. Or if we're in a lot of change and stability is a core value of mine, then possibly because of the situation that we're in, I'm not feeling that. If you know that as a leader, you're able to then help that person work through it. They can't have all their stars at a 5 all the time for their values, but you can help them amp up the other things that then help them kind of plug in and connect. But also from a culture perspective, if you know each other and you know each other's values, then you're connecting on such a deeper, more authentic level. You're also coming from a culture of understanding and curiosity and acceptance of others, which is really important for the cultures that I know a lot of the people that Zena said we're going to be here today. I know that that's important to you and your organization. So really taking some time to set focus on that. Let's go on to pulse checks. Those pulse checks are so important. We know how people are doing on their projects, but do we know how they're doing really? I don't know. So one of the things that we see organizations implementing in those like 6 or 7 minutes at the beginning of a meeting is just, hey, if you had to give an image of your world today, what does that look like? Right? Or on a scale to 1 to 10, how you doing? And maybe why, asking why are you, maybe they're at a 10, how come? Or maybe they're at a 2, how come? I didn't get any sleep, my kiddo was up, or whatever that might be. But understanding where that pulse is for those folks, what are 2 words that you would use to describe how things are? Or from a color perspective, and at Rise, Private wealth management, they do this, they pick their color for the day, and what and why is it that color right now? So these are some really important things to do, just again, just to kind of warm up that culture and keep things going from that perspective. And now we're going to get to some of the real and relevant stuff. Yes, I know, training. That seems so boring. But I will say organizations are doing a much better job right now of bringing their people together for training that is going to be relevant for their job. Okay. Got to be relevant, got to be real, got to be applied. Can't just be the theoretical stuff. But those trainings and retreats are really important if you at all have the ability to bring your people in and have them have that experience of the physical connection of being with one another and knowing one another as a human. Super important not to, jam up those meetings full with too much, you know, agenda, but you do want to make sure that you're training and you're getting them together and you're having them get together in person whenever possible. Another way to do this sort of real and relevant connection is the peer-to-peer coaching. Now, some people might be thinking that's just a one-on-one peer-to-peer coaching. I think that's a good option. But one of the things that we're seeing companies doing is actually having pods where those pods coach one another. They're different parts of the organization, so different departments. They have some core coaching skills, right? Usually these are facilitated so we don't go down the path of negativity, but you want to have them in a place where they're working on real problems that they're having out there, and they're helping support each other through those problems. So it's basically everybody's getting coaching, but also they're getting to understand what's going on in the different departments. One insurance company that I was working with, we were doing these peer-to-peer coaching pods, and this gentleman in IT is talking about like all the tickets that he's got, and this other person who was very frustrated with IT is like, wow, I didn't realize like that was your system or that's what's going on. So those peer-to-peer coachings do a couple of things for your culture. Helps people know each other on an authentic level, so they're not at the coffee machine anymore, they're not able to have those conversations pre-meeting and that sort of thing. So it does bring in that. But what it also does is it helps them understand what's going on in those other departments. As we're more remote, as we're more hybrid, you hear people, like there's constant friction between certain departments, but that's amping up more. And you have to have people understanding each other's world and having a little empathy. That peer-to-peer coaching pod is a great way to do that. It also, again, helps people work through real problems that they're dealing with on a daily basis. There's a lot of knowledge in the room. So really setting some focus on that. And then this last one is allowing for all perspectives and knowledge. One thing that I'm noticing for cultures today is our quieter people are getting quieter. And it's because in a virtual world, it's really hard to jump in and it's really hard to be heard. Ways of doing that, we're going to model one for you after we come back from the breakouts. But another way of doing that is just making sure that everybody in the room has an opportunity to speak before you move forward on something or at the end, or making sure that you are giving things ahead of time so that people have that ability to process so that they can more easily jump in, right? We want to make sure of that. And also, hey, Debbie, tell me, what do you think about this, right? Like, so pulling people out if they're being quiet or if they are in a quiet mode, or that they tend to be, it's up to us to be able to pull them in. And again, that helps us help them feel included and that they belong within that culture as well. So I'm going to have you stop sharing the screen for a moment. I just talked at you a lot, which is not my normal thing. But what I would love folks to do is we are going to go into breakouts in a moment. And in those breakouts, we're going to have you thinking of a few things. I'm going to pop these in the chat here for you. We're going to have you thinking of a few things because there's a lot of stuff that you're already doing to foster these cultures. So what are you currently doing that you could share with others? Another thing that would be super helpful is, what are you hearing? Did I mention something that clicked for you, or did somebody else in your group mention something that clicked for you that might be something good for you to implement? Again, part of this is about setting intention and actually making it happen. And then when you come back, would love to be able to have each group share with the larger group one nugget, because again, part of this is helping to share and spread some of these good things that you're out there doing. What's one thing that would be good for the rest of us to know? I know, a lot of pressure here.
And the questions are in chat for your reference.
Questions are in chat. and we have more people coming in. So those of you who are in your silent mode, please, or you have your cameras off, please put your cameras on, get ready to talk. We're going to jump in. Zena's got us going into different rooms, so we'll go in there. Zena, about probably 10 minutes so that we have
Okay.
5 minutes for debrief. And we'll give them a little bit of a warning, hopefully. All right, I will pop in a room. Anything you need me to change?
I'm gonna change your room maybe because Kate, you want to be in the same room as Kate, or you don't
A
mind?
different one would be
Okay.
great.
So room 3.
Do I just say not now? And then maybe it'll.
No, I moved you. You could join.
Okay. Oh, anything you need me to shift in how things are going?
No, we're ready to go into the discussion after, right? So,
So afterwards, I'll do a debrief and
yeah,
then
yeah, you're
pulling
good.
from the room. What I will need from you is the different on mute, and I'm talking to myself on mute. How's that? I love it. All right, so awesome nuggets in my group, but I'm just curious what some of the other folks were thinking. So we'd love one little nugget from each and every group. Kate, I want you, I don't know if you're the person that they picked for your group, but if maybe it's you, but maybe it's somebody else that you would put forward, and they're going to love you for it.
I think it might be me, but anyone else is happy, or anyone else can jump in if they want to. So everyone in our group has some sort of like DEI and B committee or organization or something along those lines to make sure that everyone in their organization feels, comfortable. But we're all kind of struggling with keeping people engaged. So I know, like with my company, when it started out, there were lots of people involved, and then it kind of like trickled down a little bit over time. Now there's a really solid core group, but I know one of their opportunities is to continue getting people involved and engaged. So we were bringing that back to see if, maybe someone else has had some really good success with that, getting people involved. So that was our kind of, one opportunity to take away from our chat.
Yeah. Has anybody had some success? Michelle, it looks like you might have something to add there.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say, and Sertronics can unmute and jump on, but we had some audio issues at the beginning, but once they were able to communicate with Michelle, both Michelles were in the same room at the same time. So once they were able to communicate with us, they had some really good ideas, like,
Policy.
oh, yep. Do you want to
We've
share
got
the
Yoda.
policy?
Yoda is
Oh.
on the case. Help
Yoda.
us out,
Yeah.
Yoda.
Grogu.
Yeah, sorry. So yes,
sorry.
we have a hybrid, we're manufacturing, so not all of our employees can work from home. There are some that can't. So we have a two day a week situation for the certain staff in positions they can. But we have some eligibility, so they have to be in the position for 6 months, and then they have to sign sort of an addendum to our policy with all of the eligibility for working from home, and making sure that you're on your camera, you're available, you're on email, you have a dedicated space and things like that, just to make sure that they are available and to try to minimize the time that they're not. And then we do have we have a handful of people that are remote 100% of the time.
Mhm.
And we make sure that they are able to participate in meetings, and we include them when it's harder when everybody's here and there's 2 people on Zoom. So we really try to bring them in and make sure that they have the ability to participate and ask questions and state what they need to, rather than just sort of having them just visually participate.
The Teletubbies up on the screen. Yeah. And that takes a
Yeah.
lot of putting them
Yeah.
in. Yeah. And making sure. Excellent. Yeah. And with the manufacturing, it's hard. Like a lot of my construction folks, there are people that have to be there all the time. And there's sometimes that little riff of like, well, are they really working if they're not here kind of thing? So I love that, you're really working to make sure that they're available to those folks and
Yeah.
still.
And even when we did the policy, we had about 20 people around the table, people that were for it, against it, and manufacturing employees, so we could understand what the impact would be. So there was a good amount of participation when we rolled out the policy. And we were able to come up with some unintended consequences of things that being in an office you would have no idea how the impact of that would be on manufacturing.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Awesome. So, Zachary, can I pick on you because you're in a group of folks that I don't know? So, can I bug you?
Yeah, sure. No problem. So we all kind of compared a few different tactics and, like Jason talked about having like a virtual high five program, which is something that we also have on our company internet. We have this thing called Who Made Your Day? And it's a great way because he mentioned not really getting chances to celebrate the successes, and that's definitely true. It's important to spend time on that. I was sort of telling the group that what I'm looking for is maybe we the bank, we have people spread across 2 states. So we've been working to try to keep people engaged for a long time. Even before the hybrid work situation, there are still people who work together but never see each other. But there are people that are harder to reach, people that don't necessarily click on a video that you put on the company intranet, people who maybe don't read through the Who Made Your Day sort of classifieds, who are maybe too quiet to do anything that would get their names on there. And so it's what I'm always kind of looking for is how do you draw those people in? Is there a way, really? Some of them I think do kind of want to just be left alone, but like my fear as a person who always wants to include everybody is that maybe there's 10 people, right? And 8 of them really want me to leave them alone, but 2 of them don't. And how do you figure out which 2?
Yeah. And that's those pulse checks. That's those communication plan connections. I think for some of those quieter people, they'd prefer a one-on-one kind of conversation. They're not going to be, coming out there, and they're also probably humble and they don't maybe want their name on that high five piece there, but they're doing some really awesome things. So there's one, the one-on-one connections, 2, the 5 ways of appreciation in business. I can't remember the exact name of the book, but that is a really great way. It's like the 5 languages of love, but for business. Finding out for people what their language is and being able to speak to them in that way, because that helps them feel, again, connected in the way that they want to be connected. The other piece too, sometimes, is helping them realize like the impact of people not knowing them and the gifts that they're bringing might prevent them from doing what they're meant to do or with the job that they're in. So helping to really, hone in on that for them as well. Okay, we have a few more rooms to go. We've got Abigail or Abby. Can you help me out? Where are you? Hello there with the fun background.
Yeah. So we actually didn't get to talk about one thing to share, but I will share what we did discuss. So we talked about leading through values, and in fact, like having exercises that are specifically geared to determine what each individual contributor's values are, and that their performance plans are based around their values and their contributions. We actually talked about a open, continuous process for improvement, and that is a policy. So it's a constant ask that anyone and everyone can suggest ways that the company can be improved. We talked about that there are intentionally developed teams, some of which are based on social interests. So, I like pets, and we want to talk about pets in this social group. And it just kind of helps people to be able to find niches and make connections, but also to have like mission moments where in a meeting you're actually focused and tagged in onto something that is actually a spark or an igniter for conversations that are mission relevant. And then finally, I was last to share in our group and I didn't really get to finish, but we have employee resource groups. I work for Dartmouth Health. We're the largest private employer in the state of New Hampshire. And in fact, our employees are in 32 states. So some of our remote workforce don't even really know what Dartmouth Health is to this region. So they have no real connection to us. And in fact, we are starting our very first remote focused employee resource group that will target specifically our remote workforce to bring them in and to kind of help them make those connections with intention. So employee resource groups, which are shared values, interests, and experiences for employees, so they can kind of come out of their departments, out of their silos, out of the hierarchy, and meet people that they just share common ground with.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Thank you. And last but not least, my group, Marianne.
Yeah, so we talked about the thing we wanted to share was trainings, and trainings like live trainings on Teams or on Zoom, to share information, to share what everyone else is doing in the company. At my company in particular, we do info sessions where the different departments or different specialties give presentations on what they do every day. So it helps kind of keep the communication flowing between departments. So yeah, that's what we wanted to bring back.
Love it. So all of these good ideas, and we're recording this so you can go back and capture some of those, but really it is about intention and intentionally continuing to keep some of those pieces going. What I want to switch to is I want to make sure we have time to give you this fabulous tool. So Zena, if you could bring up the screen, we're going to walk you through this and we're going to model it for you. And if anybody has questions afterwards, of course you can come and bug me, but I'm going to have, let's see. So a couple down, maybe one more slide down. There we go. So this is the Shift, Learn, Act model. And what we do with this, and Kate and Shanna are going to help us with a little bit around it, but just to give you a little bit of background, this is, in coaching, we call there's pushing conversations and pulling conversations. What this does is it allows people to do both. It is so awesome. It allows people to pull from somebody what they think they could or should or might have an opportunity for. It helps them get out of their way of thinking, but then it also helps with getting advice, which we all love to give advice. And folks have to then shift and move to action, which is awesome. So you can stop sharing the screen, Zena, if possible. And then Shanna, if you can tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Rise Private Wealth Management.
Sure. So we've used this model. So actually, we are clients of Heather's. And within the peer group that we learned this model, we were able to bring this back to our team and really use it in multiple different situations. So today, a challenge that I'm bringing is, we have offices in 5 different states, but we have individuals around the country. And it's similar to what Zachary stated, is we try to present opportunities for each person to feel engaged, but it's just not always the case, right? Not everybody is raising their hand. We use Bonusly as a way to recognize individuals for their contributions, but not everyone's logging in, reading them, or even adding comments, utilizing the points that they have. So we have a very, very strong culture. Through that breakout, we realized, I was able to share quite a few things that we're doing in the area. We're values-based, we're trying to lead through individual contributors' values and so on. But it's the challenge that we have is just as we continue to grow, it's how do we make sure each individual, each additional office maybe that we acquire is feeling connected, right? And so that we're really protecting the culture and really bringing everyone in. So that's one thing that I feel would be beneficial for us to kind of talk through today.
Okay, so that is Shanna's headline. How do we help these different folks feel like they're still connected and a part of the full Rise? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to ask some very powerful questions. I've got Zena and Michelle and Debbie and Kate to help us with what those questions are. So we're going to ask those questions, and then Shanna's not going to answer all of them. She's just going to be listening for a little minute. And they're putting them in the chat. Look at this. Okay, hold on, Zena, hold on. So we're going to be asking those questions. Shanna's going to then think about them. She's going to pick 1 or 2 that she wants to answer. Okay, so this is part of the model. So Zena, go ahead and say yours out loud, just in case folks don't have their chat up.
Okay. What outcome did you want to see? And what's working right now and what's not working?
Perfect. And then we have Debbie and Kate. Kate, go ahead. I saw you just come off mute.
What is important about this for you and for those around you?
And similar to that, what is the most important?
Yeah. And Michelle?
What do you really want? And what do you want? What do you really want? Sorry, I missed the significance of that.
Perfect. And then I would add,
Oops.
who's doing this well? Who out there is already doing this well would be my powerful question to add to that one. And then Debbie writes what resonates for you. So out of all of those, Shanna, are there one or two that you would want to answer?
I'm still just jotting it down. I think, yeah, I think like, what do you really want, right? Like, what, and as an individual contributor, but someone who's been with the firm for a really long time and really feels the culture, I think that's a powerful one. And then, how is it important for me, but then also those around me? So should I answer those questions?
Yes, you should.
Okay. So for me, I see and feel the benefit of the culture that we've built. You know, there's many organizations that talk about a strong culture, but we live it, you know, like we feel it. And what I really, really want is no matter where the individual is, or maybe the organization that they've come from, or maybe even the firm that they've built and what they're used to as a culture, I want any individual or company that merges with us to feel this existing culture, right? And be a part of it. It's not only to feel it and observe it, for them to join in. So maybe historically they were an individual advisor working on their own, but now coming over and being part of a team, it's, you know, we collaborate. So we want our individuals to be contributors in collaboration meetings and so on. So what do I really want? I want the RISE culture to live on, right? And not be interrupted. If anything, only get better.
There you go. So then do you want to restate the problem after answering that?
Yeah, I think it's, how do we protect our culture moving forward as we grow?
Love it. Now, guess what we get to do, folks? We get to give them advice. I know this is the part where we get to tell them what we think they should do. And I'm just going to pop in here where we are in this model. Okay. So we've got, she stated her opportunity or her challenge. We've asked powerful questions. She's now had an opportunity to process and answer them. She's now restated that. And now we're going to offer solutions.
Is it okay to challenge the restate of the opportunity when you offer solutions? Like instead of protecting the culture, enhancing the culture by including elements, positive elements from people who are joining?
There you go. Perfect. That is advice. That is wonderful, Zena. Good job.
Learning. Thank you.
I think that too, like if you have a sense of what your values are, finding ways to illustrate them in ways that aren't like the very stiff, like here's our mission statement, here's our list of values. Like one thing that we do is we have awards that are kind of correlated to the values. So like someone wins an award and that awards presentate the people, they speak about like how proactive they are, right? Proactive, that's one of the values that we have. And so I think that really helps because I'm one of those people who I feel like certain, especially abstract sort of corporate concepts, I need explained to me a few times by a few different people before I really get it. So opportunities like that are great ways to kind of go beyond just like saying, all right, here's what here's what our culture is in 5 words.
We're awarding it. I love it. Abigail has her hand raised, and then it looks like Debbie after that.
So I have 3 things. First and foremost, a question. How do you define your values? Are you explicit in what living your values looks like for each employee? Then I would say, do not be performative in that, because then you create toxic positivity. So that's what I have to say.
Perfect. And she's not saying anything because she's not supposed to, and I've trained her well. So in this part, when people are going around and giving advice, the person getting the advice just takes it in because they're going to be marinating on it and they're going to come to action at the end of that. So Debbie, what do you have to add?
So we have employee handbooks for internal employees. We have annual reports for the external people. But for new people coming into an organization, it's really hard to tell what your culture is because they don't have the stories. So what if you created something like an annual report, but there's a storybook for your internal employees with pictures, with quotes, with your values, but just internal. So feel good piece with your history.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
I'd love for you to do that for us.
I'm still trying to figure it out myself. Okay.
Excellent. All right. Any other advice that folks would give?
I was going to say something similar, and I'm offering up Zach and Kenny Book Savings. Like one of their values is inclusion, and they do a lot really to let people on the fringes, typically of inclusion, to talk about what it means to them. And I think that it's so powerful that you can feel their culture just listening to these stories. So just wanted to call them out for their outstanding work.
Nice. So a lot around that story plays there. I think too, Shanna, just knowing kind of sometimes like you're all in the big room and then the remote people are all remote, like if it is at all possible sometimes to have everybody in the equal playing field, because then it might help them engage and be involved a bit more. It's harder to speak when you only see like the whole room kind of thing. So if there's opportunities like that, to be able to do that as well. Angela, I know you're off mute. I was curious. Did you have one to add?
Yeah, thank you, Heather. I was wanting to build on some of the comments around values and how important it is to have the personal values be as explicit as the organizational values, and to workshop. I'd recommend workshopping around that. I've done that in a few places, and it's amazing to see where each individual gets to see what their competing commitment might be. That is kind of maybe an obstacle to them fully embracing one of the values, and also allows the organization as a whole to take a look to make sure that the values are relevant if they haven't been visited for a while.
Awesomeness.
Yeah, thank you.
So lots of advice. See, we've all got little nuggets. So we had polling questions that helped her think differently. She ended up restating her question. Now we've all given advice. Shanna, the moment is here for you to pick an action to move this forward.
Yeah, so I actually do like Zena's challenge of stating it as like enhancing through growth, right? Rather than protecting through growth. I really like so thank you all. Thank you all for all of the comments. Definitely appreciate it. There are a few things that we are doing. So Angela stated, leading through personal values. We do a values exercise with every individual that joins our firm. But then every quarter they're reviewing those values with their leaders to make sure that they're operating in alignment. And then as far as the company core values go, we do every Monday morning, we have a company-wide meeting and individuals share examples of how they're operating through our values. So, and it's from around the country, right? Like different ways that they're giving back to the community and whatnot. So I'm definitely doing that. However, we have not done an annual report or storybook. And I think that's really great. I mean, we do a quarterly newsletter, but I think that that's a great takeaway and something that I'll bring back to the team. So again, thank you all. Appreciate all of the feedback. Appreciate it being so interactive today.
Thank you, both Shanna and Kate, for doing that. Rise is doing a good job. Their Rise and Shine is their Monday morning meeting. I was like, I want a Monday morning meeting that's Rise and Shine. But it's just really great. So this today, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll send you the slide deck. There's some ideas in there, lots of wonderful things and nuggets from each and every one of you. And we're really grateful for you to take and just check out this model, try it. With your folks. It's really a great way to engage and get different perspectives. And again, this real and relevant, authentic connection is so important for people. And this is just one way for you to be able to do that, bring those people into the fold, and also just kind of know how they're thinking. And then what I like about this too, I have another nonprofit that uses it down in DC, and they're like, look, you know, these are folks now that I pick up the phone and I call because I love the questions they ask. And so then that's also bringing that peer-to-peer connection for folks when they are struggling with it. And it's sometimes it's a challenge, but it's often an opportunity. So I want to make sure that you use it for both of those things. So Zena, I know we have 2 minutes. How do we want to close this out today? Well, you're
I
welcome
just wanted to share your contact is on this. If they want to reach out, I'm going to share this with everyone after. I want to thank Heather and Shanna and Kate from Rise Wealth Management for sharing their ideas and their knowledge with us. And I want to give you a heads up that we have another webinar in the series coming up April 11th, and we'll put the link to register in chat of a new program that United Granite Way has been working on for a year. And this is the results of a new family-friendly workplaces program. And they've been working on a good model similar to if you were already doing recovery-friendly workplaces. This is one that would tend to the family-oriented policies, childcare included. So please share the link in chat, Debbie, and we would like to see you there. And for those on the call, and if you like this model, I have Abby is one of ours, actually. I don't know if I'm sorry if I missed anyone else, but we have a human-centered workplaces peer impact network. And if you're interested in joining, let me know, because this is exactly what we do, is share learnings and offer challenges. And if you want to connect with others working on human-centered workplaces is what we call it, and then please reach out to me. And I'll make sure you get the invite for the next meeting. Thank you again, Heather. Thank you for everything. And thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Heather.